Okay, hey guys. So I have been watercoloring, obviously already, the Heidi Still Life. One thing that I do want us to keep in mind when we're watercoloring this is that we want to add darker and lighter areas for shadows and highlights. So you can kind of see where this pot would have a shadow over the book. I've kind of made it a little bit darker with the watercolor, and then it's lighter in other areas. At the back of the table where it's kind of shadowed by the plant and the book and it's kind of further away, it's darker and then it gets lighter as it comes forward. How you do that is, I don't know if you can see, here's my watercolor. So how you do that is you're going to use more paint pigment. I'll show you on this big leaf right here. So you're going to use more paint and darker to make certain areas darker. Just like that. You see how it's nice and super duper dark. And then for in between those dark areas on my leaf, I am actually just going to get my brush wet, and I won't dip in the paint again. I'm just going to kind of use the paint that's already on here and kind of pull it together. So the more water you use, the lighter your paint will be. The more paint is on your brush, the darker your paint will be. So I'll kind of smooth that out. Another way to go about making some areas darker and lighter is after it has dried a little bit, you can go over certain areas. So I'll show you, I'll get a little bit of paint on my brush. This is the color I used for the table. So if I want those back corners to be even darker, I can go over those now that they're a little bit dry and just darken that up, and you see how like super dark that makes it. And then as I move forward, well, around my book, I want it to be a little bit darker because that book would be casting a shadow on the table. So I'm gonna make my shadow extend out like that. And then once again, I'm just going to be using the water to spread out the rest of that paint and spread out the rest of that color. Oops, I got a little bit on the top. It's okay, we all make mistakes, right? And sometimes the mistakes can give our artwork a little bit more character. So I'm just using water right now. I'm not dipping back in the paint, and this is going to help darken the areas that I want darker and keep light the areas that I want lighter. Yeah, so I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna go over the other side to make sure that it matches. I'm gonna go over this side because I don't want that corner to be way darker and this corner not to be. So I'm gonna go over this again with that same color, and then like I said, I have kind of a shadow here along the book. And now I'll switch to just water, no paint, to kind of spread that out and make it get lighter. So some cool watercolor kind of effects that you can do. I tried to do the same thing on my pot. It's not super dry, but I will show you guys. So I'm like really going with the color I used for my pot, getting a lot of pigment on my brush, not a ton of water. It's mostly pigment or paint. And I'll go onto the sides with that to kind of darken up the sides. That way it gives the illusion of like being 3D and curving around by making the middle area lighter. So I don't know if you can see that, but it helps give the illusion that my pot is rounded. have fun with it. Watercoloring can be really nice, really relaxing. Waiting until areas are dry before watercoloring over them is definitely a good idea, because it'll keep from this bleeding that's like happening, because plants don't bleed over onto their pots like that. It's not a huge deal if it happens a little bit, but you don't want like all your colors mixing up on your page. So waiting till it's dry will help reduce that. But there you go. That's your tutorial for this. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the project.